Say that you had two friends who were interested in starting their own businesses. Jack and Jill are both talents as pizza makers and as photographers, but they have differing abilities. Jack can take 30 pictures in an hour, but only cook 2 pizzas. Meanwhile, Jill can take 20 pictures, but make 5 pizzas in that same hour. It's not just enough to say that Jill can make more pizzas or that Jack can take more pictures. Instead, economists use the term absolute advantage. An absolute advantage means that you can do more of something during a given time. That means that in the example, Jack has an absolute advantage in taking pictures, whereas Jill has an absolute advantage in making pizzas. Jill also has permission to send as many of those pizzas as she wants to me. So, let's say that Jack and Jill set up their respective businesses, Jack's photography and Jill's pizzeria. Both are chugging away, content in their knowledge that they are working to make exactly what they should make. But then, one day, a brand new pizza oven magically appears in Jack's shop. Now he can make 6 pizzas in an hour. This means that Jack now has the absolute advantage in both pizza production and photography, and probably a few new friends to boot. But what should he do? It might be tempting to just look at the absolute advantage, but that is ignoring the costs of the items. In fact, a famous economist named David Ricardo said we shouldn't look at absolute advantage, but instead the opportunity cost of doing each. Whoever could do something for the lower opportunity cost, Ricardo reasoned, was the person who could actually do it cheaper. So let's look at those costs. Each pizza that Jack makes costs him 5 pictures, whereas it only costs Jill 4 pictures to make a pizza. Since Jill can make pizzas for cheaper, she should probably stick to that. Jill has the comparative advantage when it comes to making pizza, because she pays a lower opportunity cost. Now let's look at it from the perspective of photographs. Each photograph costs Jack 20% of a pizza, since he can take 5 photographs and the amount of time he spends making 1 pizza. On the other hand, each photograph costs Jill 25% of a pizza, since she can take 4 photographs in the amount of time it takes her to make a pizza. Look at the percentages, and you'll see that Jack can take each picture for a lower opportunity cost. As a result, he has the comparative advantage in photography. It's important to know that while someone can have every absolute advantage, they will never have every comparative advantage. Notice that all the examples I used above completely lacked any discussion of the money made, but instead solely on the units produced. This is really important, as it helps to explain a number of very important facts in economics that are easily misconstrued. This is because price is not a direct function of the ability to produce something. That idea helps to separate capitalism from other ideas, namely communism, that say everyone should make the same. Jill may be able to sell each of her pizzas for $15, making her $60 an hour, while Jack can sell his pictures for $3 a piece, making him $90 an hour. In case you're wondering where I got those prices from, I just made them up. Jill and Jack are free to choose their own prices based on what the demand of a particular item can justify, but we'll talk about that in a future lesson. However, something that comparative advantage definitely and clearly explains is the importance of unit cost. With more economies becoming more and more developed, a number of companies often find it cheaper to set up shop overseas. This has resulted in a number of jobs, often in manufacturing, being moved out of American communities to places overseas. Needless to say, this is a cause for a lot of angry people. It has also led to a number of politicians of all ideologies making statements from American manufacturing is dead to we should stop all jobs from going overseas. From an economic perspective, these people are forgetting the importance of units, not price, in determining comparative advantage. Sure, it costs a company $25 an hour for Americans to work in a factory, but people in Southeast Asia or Latin America could be a steal at $10 an hour. However, Remember that comparative advantage hinges on units produced, not cost. Assuming the number of workers is the same, if the American factory can produce more than 5 units in the amount of time it takes the other factory to make 2, the American factory will still have the absolute advantage. In this lesson, we learned about the difference between absolute and comparative advantages. We reviewed the concepts of scarcity and utility, as well as how they affect opportunity cost. Then we saw that the absolute advantage goes to the producer who can make the most of a given good during a period of time. While a company can have every absolute advantage, it can never have every comparative advantage. This is because a comparative advantage is calculated by finding out who can produce a good for the lowest opportunity cost.